Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. This side Rahul as a Chief Executive Officer of Treasury Consulting LLP, and today I would be covering a video which is SLR, Statutory Liquid Ratio. I hope you must be thinking that why I am covering a video on statutory liquid ratio, because this is something which everybody knows about. There are a lot of people who knows about that, right? But I would be giving you a perspective of SLR, which I think something which is not there on the YouTube channel right now. Now, what SLR stands? SLR is a statutory liquid ratio. I don't understand the meaning of that till now. That why 20.5, which is current, 20.5% of NDTL, which is net time and demand liabilities of a bank, should be given to government in the form of the government holding, or all those government holdings which are all subject to SLR. I don't understand the meaning of that. Why a bank who has been forced since years to invest roughly 20.5%, approximately 20.5% of NDTL, net time and demand liabilities, to government securities, and that too by force. But did we ever thought that SLR is greater than that? That is SLR. SLR is something, this is something everybody knows. I think most of the people, those who are watching the video, must be know that sitting today, roughly 20.5% of the net demand and time liabilities should be given to a bank in the form of the security. But is that sufficient? Is something we should know? Now the point is, look at a bank, State Bank of India, who have several thousands of crores of bonds sitting in the book. And there is not a single bank who is not facing the issue of the non-performing asset. Not a single bank. As per Reserve Bank of India, the total non-performing asset of a banking industry is roughly 8.34 trillion, which is 8,34,000 crore. And I credibly doubt about this number. But nonetheless, I think this number is 30% understated. 30% understated at least. The amount is greater than 10 lakh crores, which is 10 trillion Indian rupee. But nonetheless, assume a bank which is State Bank of India, who have crores of rupees of government bonds as a holding. You know that from 2014 till now, there is a fall in the interest rate by approximately 10% from the bonds point of view. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying from the bonds point of view. So from 2014 till now, there was an approximate fall of roughly 10%. It means that if I would have bought a bond in 2014, keeping 15 years maturity, today the value, the yield would have fallen by 10%. Now you all know, or those who do not know, they should know that there is an inverse relationship between bond yield and interest rates and bond principal. If the yield would be falling, the principal would be rising. It effectively means that if I am a corporate treasurer of State Bank of India and I have 7,000 crore rupees of bonds with me and yield have fallen by roughly 10%, which effectively means I would have a M2M gain of 10% in my books. MTM stands for mark to market. I am talking about L1. Level 1 as per US GAAP, FS 133. Majority of the people, those who are watching the video, should not be aware of the fact that there are three ways you can calculating the M2M. Mark to market, which is L1, mark to matrix, which is L2, mark to model, which is L3. Indian banking system, along with majority of the corporates, Indian banking system using IND-AS, and Indian corporates, those who are on US GAAP and other, they are following this using L1, which is L1 means that L1 means that whatever data you have in the market, you are going to take it. So you have your no inputs. Okay, that we appreciate. Now the question is, there is a 10% fall in the pricing. According to a research paper, this 10% fall in the prices is approximately 2.93 trillion rupees, which is roughly 2,93,000 crores. Let us add 7,000 crore more and make it flat, 3 trillion Indian rupee. It means that if 10% fall will lead to 3 trillion Indian rupee, and every monetary policy we always look at Urjit Patel, from Subbarao to Raghuram Rajan, now to Urjit Patel, that when they are reducing the rate. Now believe What Urjit Patel has said in 2016, if he is going to cut the rate by 1% or 100 basis point from here, which is currently repo is 6.25 and he's going to make it at 5.25, it means if 10% would have an impact of 3 trillion, what 1% would be? On a small notional figures, we assume that we add 0.3 here, because 10% and 1%, which means 1/10, so roughly at 30.30 trillion. If we go with the authenticity of the report which Reserve Bank of India is saying, that the non-performing asset of India is roughly 8.34, then that can all be negated if you allow Indian banks to market their bond portfolio. Then out of this $8.34 trillion, this $3 trillion would get shaved off. So you're left with which $5 trillion. But the catch, all those people, those who have an accounting background, they must be questioned. They must have a question from me that this gain is notional. I appreciate. On the other hand, the NPA loss is real. That I also appreciate. My question is, if we free SLR, which has been set long ago, and I don't know why this ratio is getting followed now also. If we free SLR and allow the bonds to sell allow the banks to sell at will. Now at will would be replaced by held till maturity, available for sale and held for trading. Now it's being technical. FS 89, Financial Accounting Standard 89, US GAAP. You have the bond principal, you have the valuation of the fixed income instrument. In the valuation of the fixed income instrument, it can be done in three ways. One is one is held till maturity, one is available for sale, one is held for trading. In held till maturity, you cannot take unrealized gain in your book. You bought a bond at 100 rupees. Interest rate fallen, yield fallen, and now the same bond is trading at 105. You cannot book the gain in your book. Yes, you can book the gain, or you can amortize the gain, or you can capitalize that part, that assuming you have bought it at discount or you have bought it at a gain. It meant that a bond of 100 rupee was bought at 105. Initially, that 5 rupees can be capitalized as a loss, and if suppose you bought at 97, 3 rupees can be capitalized as a gain. But every month when you will close the books, you will not do any mark-to-market accounting on that. On the other hand, available for sale and held for trading are always mark-to-market on a monthly basis, because banks and PD stand for primary dealers, they close the book on a monthly basis. Now the question is, if we open our mind and just deregularize the SLR, which is statutory liquid ratio, in that sense we would be able to make up 10%, which is roughly 3 trillion INR, roughly 300,000 crores of money to the bank. But the biggest question would be, then what would happen? Who will fund Reserve Bank of India? Because as per Reserve Bank of India himself, they take 600,000 crores of funding from Indian markets and they return 150,000 crores of funding to Indian market. So net they are borrower of 450,000. And if I compare this that they are doing for the last 20 years, this means 900,000 crores of funding has already been taken. And this can be substantiated from the fact that 90% of the revenue deficit in this country contributes to the interest payment by Reserve Bank of India. This can be substantiated from that fact. Because in a primary deficit, basically your revenue, whatever you are earning, in revenue deficit, this 90% is only because the interest payment which you are doing. Now, if you will deregularize SLR, this will save 10% money, and immediately the banks would be able to recapitalize their books by 300,000 crores. And this is not a notional gain. This would be a real gain, because they are going to sell in the market. Now another question. A lot of people thinking that it could be led to choice in the market, or it could lead to a scene in the market. Markets would fall further if everybody would start selling. The yield might, today 10-year which is trading at 6.5, it might went to 5.5 if this would happen. My question to all of you, for those who are thinking, when European Bank did LTRO, long-term refinancing operation, didn't they did that? They first infused the bond liquidity into the system. and then did the quantitative easing, heavy quantitative easing, which led to the fall in the rates, and now in fact it is negative, and then bought back the same bonds from the bank, which led to the M2M game in the books of the banks. And this is happening even today. If you look at any bank, JP Morgan Chase, Citi, UBS, your Credit Suisse, your Goldman Sachs, Citi, Bank of America, HSBC, ANZ, Westpac, especially US and European bank, you will get a scene that they are booking huge amount of gain in their fixed income division. A division who was not holding a single value till few years ago, now giving a sole contribution in this book. How? This is the same way. They are reaping the LTRO benefits which was done by ECB. Why can't Reserve Bank did that? Why can't Reserve Bank did the LTRO benefits in SLR? This is something I want to talk about. At the end, I want to tell that in my personal opinion, this SLR is nothing but a financial repression, which is nothing but an obsolete ratio which we are maintaining in this country. I think we should shut off all these so many ratios, and we should have a minimum amount of ratio that should be applicable into the system. You all are very great people, very highly intellectual class people. You know that CRR is already a sunk money for banks. 4% of the NDTL you are giving to banks, to Reserve Bank of India, and he is paying you even not paying you even a zero, even 1 cent of interest. 4% is already a sunk money. 20.50% is turning out to be a sunk money for the bank. At the end, approximately 25% of NDTL, net time and demand liability, is turning out to be a sunk money. And at the end, you are saying that banks won't be able to maintain the ID ratio, which is investment to deposit ratio, and CD ratio, which is credit to deposit ratio. In an ideal situation, ID ratio, investment to deposit plus CD ratio should be equals to 1. But this is not the case we have here in India. This is less than 1. So I think as a central bank, the prime objective for you should have a very good understanding of the accounting, and you should get away from these SLR securities, because this will lead to a benefit in the books of bank. And let banks manage the books. Let banks take up a call whether they wanted to take held till maturity, they wanted to take available for sale, or they wanted to take held for trading. Let they take a call. Why you are forcing banks to have 20.5% of the NDTL as SLR? You should not force them. Let their fixed income market take up a call whether they want held till maturity, available for sale, or held for trading. Why you are creating financial depression when this $3 trillion of the funding could have come in the books, which is nothing but an unrealized gain? I summarize this entire stuff is known as funding gap. In my personal opinion, this is funding gap. At the end, I wanted to link this something which is very critical, and I hope you understand. By 2019, India is heading towards Basel III. And we need approximately $90 billion for that. And Indian banking system do not have $90 billion. You know that when Reserve Bank went out to pay for FCNR, which is roughly $36 billion, it was a big scene in the market, and Indian rupee depreciated to the higher level. Now we are talking about $90 billion, which is approximately 2.5 times of that. Approximately. Now the question is very clear. Now the question is, if you need a funding of $90 billion by 2019, which is approximately 2.5 years, and Indian banks do not have that funding, then why can't you open up the SLR? Let them have the notional gains and book this in their book, and at least they would have the funding, even if they are not going to utilize against the non-performing asset. Several times I mentioned about the non-performing asset and how we can tackle that. This was for today, is to introduce you that what exactly happening in SLR, and I would say that how SLR is creating a financial depression in India into the system, and how this 10% of the funding which is unrealized can come in the books of the banks. With this, Rahul from Tracy Consulting LLP, we are doing a lot of work, and our website designing is on the way. I'm very pleased to share that now the company has entered into financial and business restructuring also. We are working on our first project, and very soon we are looking for the second project. If you have any requirement for the corporate training and for personal training and for a publication, you are welcome to subscribe our magazine. There are a lot of things which we are doing. You just give us a call, 9899242978. And also our email ID is rahul.magan@treasury consulting LLP. We'll tell you that how big is this company. Thank you and have a good luck.